Welcome to the Canadian Expat. We're joined today by Elias Gazelle. He is a Lebanese Canadian living currently in the UK, and he's very generously agreed to join us to give us a little bit of insight as to what the situation is like in Lebanon and how this might affect not only the Lebanese community in and around Beirut, but also the Canadian community there. Elias, welcome to the Canadian Expat.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be talking about this, even though it's sad, but hope to be able to shed some light on this and alert others what's happening.
Hey, Elias, can you let me know a little bit about what you know about that area that the explosion occurred?
Yeah, so the explosion happened main explosion happened in the port of Beirut. Beirut has one major seaport, and it's not very far from the center of the city, the downtown area. And it's a very busy corridor, a lot of people traveling through that highway, which overlooks the port. And it happened at a time when people are getting ready to leave. So you imagine traffic to be very congested at that time. It's a really busy area because parallel to that, on the other side, it's a highly dense residential area. So lots of damage, that gets with ripple effect across the city.
The video that we've seen is incredible in terms of the amount of damage in this one explosion. Now, there hasn't been a lot of information that's come out regarding the source of the explosion. Do you have any idea? Have you heard anything about what occurred or where exactly happened?
Yeah. So the latest has come out from the head of the general security, Abbas Brahim, came out and explained that what happened is the most likely scenario is that there's a storage of explosive chemicals, ammonium nitrites, 2,700 tons of those explosive chemicals were stored in one of those areas, and and somehow they caught fire. There's one report that says that there was a welding job happening nearby. Somebody was trying to lock the door to the entrance, and eventually the chemicals caught on fire. There was some fire at the beginning, but then when the major stockpile exploded, then we saw the big massive explosion.
We're able to see, of course, some of what was going on, and it's horrific the image that are coming out. Now, do you know anybody in that area? And first of all, condolences to you and your family if you do know anybody that's there.
Yeah, thank you. It's really sad to hear about what's happening, especially now as more news about people being are missing. They haven't gone back home. I have some family in the surrounding area. Thankfully, they're all okay. They heard the explosion, definitely. They heard the noise. None were injured. Some they got some, small injuries, but they were terrified. It was a loud boom, and it was heard up to 25, 30 kilometers away from the city. I spoke to a friend of mine who was who happened to be about an hour and a half away up high on the mountains. And he said that he had heard it. And we know that people on as far south on the southern coast and the northern coast heard it. Even in Cyprus and some Greek islands, they reported that they had heard some of the noise. So this was catastrophic. It's just devastating. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, we've heard news of some loss of life, and I can imagine that just given the images that have come out, that the numbers will continue to grow, which is an incredibly sad story. Again, condolences to any of your friends or family that may have been hurt in this. Maybe some haven't come out yet, but again, we certainly our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Lebanon.
Thank you. I mean, the Minister of Health came out recently and said that, at this point we have at least 50 deaths, the 50 martyrs uh, and more than 2,000 injuries. Um, and it's likely that these numbers will increase as the days progress, and more hospitals are. So hospitals are now, they have no more beds to bring in and admit new patients or new victims. Um, so it's likely that we're going to see more cases as the day pass, and as the even the gas effect and the chemical effect of these particles spread out in the air and they get ingested, and it's these numbers will change.
Again, this couldn't come at a worse time either. I know that Lebanon currently is going through some difficult times economically, so this is an added pressure on the economy and the economics in Lebanon. Now, you're located in the UK, correct?
Yes, I'm currently in the UK, and yeah, it's what's happening in Lebanon is very tragic, and this I mean it's never a good time to experience something like this, but this couldn't have come at a worse time. Lebanon has been suffering from since October of last year. That there were some anti-government protests that escalated and caused a lot of the banks to exercise capital controls, which prevented people from accessing their funds. And when the coronavirus hit and it spread, that slowed down the economic cycle. And what followed was just a downhill spiral in terms of monetary policies and financial policies. So a lot of people are already suffering financially, economically. And now this came, and already people are out of jobs or unemployment is very high. And there are some reports about even food stocks and wheat and, to make bread has been um, damaged because of the fires that happen to be stored in a nearby facility. Um, so that's really sad and upsetting, because the poorer families who rely and depend on these basic subsidies from the government, this major basic supplies are not going to be available soon. And with the import, with the seaport being damaged as it is right now, it's not clear how Lebanon will overcome this in the near future. I mean, it's already, thankfully, neighboring countries and friendly countries have already offered their assistance. Qatar and France and other neighboring states have expressed willingness to support Qatar, to support Lebanon during this situation. But even that will take time to figure out the logistics and how to roll it out.
I'm wondering a little bit about the Canadian community in and around Beirut. You're yourself a Canadian Lebanese. What is that community like? And have you heard much from that community as of yet?
Yeah, I mean, there's a sizable Lebanese Canadian population in Lebanon, and they're successful, and they're active in society, and they contribute to the economy, and they're well respected, and they have their felt presence. Um, but unfortunately, since last year or earlier, beginning of this year, because how the situation and the country was unfolding, and because of the dire circumstances, uh, there was a migration from Lebanon. A lot of Canadians are going back to Canada, or they were had some maybe business operations in Lebanon, but this is because the situation is becoming unsustainable. Um, they are asking tough questions on whether it makes sense to stay in Lebanon longer. Um, some other from the expat communities, are asking similar questions, whether it makes sense or whether it is feasible to stay, because the whole public sector, all the education, all of the goods, it's really we are witnessing the slow collapse of the country. And I imagine that a lot of Lebanese Canadians will be asking themselves that sort of, determinative question on how long they can survive in Lebanon, especially as it seems these disasters are back to back and not giving a lot of time or space for people to recuperate and catch the breath.
Of course. Elias, once again, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. Again, hearts, minds, and prayers to you and your families.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Take care.